Yes, people, welcome to Man Knows Football. You're here with myself, Guni, and you're here with Younes for another live, a day before the Tottenham game. A couple of things we're going to talk about today. Obviously, the main one being the title down there. Potter with the press conference letting us know that fans were letting him know that they want him and his kids out of here in the most negative way that you can think about. YouTube won't allow me to say that this early in the live. I will get flagged. So you guys put two and two together. And
damn, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
Eunice.
okay.
They're getting strict on that. But that's the case. We're gonna talk about that, and we're also gonna talk about obviously team selection for tomorrow, how we're feeling about the game tomorrow as well, the potential involvement of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We've got some news on the player being available. But do you know what? Let's actually do that. Let's do this in reverse. So we're gonna talk about what's happened with Graham Potter towards the end of the stream. And let's just talk about, obviously, team selection. We'll start off with, obviously, the hot topic being Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But obviously, do you know what? Where's my manners? Yeah, first and foremost. Younes, I didn't even ask how you're doing, bruv. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. No, it's fine because we discussed it off air, didn't we? But yeah, no, all good, man. It's that time again, isn't it? Like normally, Chelsea are on the brink of playing, and we're like, oh yeah, finally Chelsea are back, and now it's like, oh, Chelsea are back. So yeah, we'll wait and see how it's all gonna go down tomorrow. I'm nervous, and I'm not nervous in a good way. So yeah, let's see how it goes down. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
It
You're
says
on
here I'm
mute.
on mute. Yeah, it says here
Hang
I'm on
on.
mute. Yeah, do you know what? You heard me on the back end. All
Oh
right,
wow, you are.
sorry people. Do you know what it is as well? Sometimes when this goes inactive, the mic just mutes itself as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. No, it's working. It's
Yeah,
working now. It's working.
now it's working. Yeah. Now it's working. Now it's working. All right. So what was I saying? Now I've got to remind myself. So oh yeah, that's it. So obviously there's an opportunity for us to get one over on Spurs. It's a great opportunity for us to start something positive, man. We're tired of the negativity, and beating Spurs is a great opportunity to do that. And the more I was thinking about it, yeah, I wasn't too optimistic, but the more I think of things, there is actually an opportunity to win this. We could see a more balanced midfield if Graham Potter decides to include Dennis Zakaria next to Enzo. Do you know what I
Agreed.
mean? And then there's
Yep.
obviously the striking situation. We're not putting the ball in the back of the net. We've got this experienced striker, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, no injuries. He's back in for contention, apparently from the manager. Should we be seeing him start the game tomorrow, bro?
100%. 100%. And I would personally, even though I'm expecting him to probably not pick Aubameyang, but I'd be shocked if Aubameyang's not starting tomorrow. Because what else have we got? If for one we see Kai Havertz up top again, I'm gonna be laughing. If we saw Fafana again, I wouldn't be against it. But a high profile game like Tottenham, man, for especially a player that's an ex-Gooner who's now playing at Chelsea
Yeah.
against Spurs, there's incentive there. But right now, my thing is if we had the same players like before, I would probably be a little bit on the fence for Aubameyang. But considering he's got Felix, possibly Mudrik, Madueke, Enzo in behind, that's a complete different lineup. He's basically walked into a new team, considering the striker role and the players that can get the ball to him.
Yeah.
It's a new side, so give him the chance. Maybe it'll work. Maybe him and Felix will have a good relationship. Maybe he gets onto the end of wingers that maybe understand how he moves, how he runs. Maybe he's able to understand them easier than he could the other lads. you got to give it a chance, man. And if there's someone in this team that knows one thing or two about scoring a goal, at least, it's probably Aubameyang, even though he's not been on the form of his life. And he won't go beyond this season, I don't feel. But we need something right now, man. We need something. And Aubameyang's the guy we have to turn to. So I fully want him to play tomorrow.
I mean, at this point, Graham Potter has tried everything but including Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's even tried Mason Mount holding that false 9, for goodness sake. Do you know what I mean? So come on, Graham. Yeah, in a game like this, it's like you said, there's extra incentive, you know. It's not a history that I'm proud of bringing up, but you've got to put the history that he has. It counts, do you know what I mean? It's Spurs, that doesn't go away. I'm sure that will to win against them is still the same as it was back in his dark days in the shadow realms of the Emirates over there. I hate to admit that he played for that club, but it is what it is. But do you know what I mean? But look, I would be starting him. I mean, right now, my situation with Aubameyang, I've said a lot of harsh things about the player. I still don't like the player. I would still like to see him go. But the fact remains, yeah? Facts and feelings are two different things. He is the most trustworthy striker that we have at this club. His record doesn't lie, it speaks for himself. His record against Spurs doesn't lie, it speaks for itself. This is a great opportunity also for the player to get back on side, to be taking his opportunities, to be grabbing 3 points. You know, another thing as well that people forget, Madueke is ex-Spurs.
He is.
Yep.
Yeah, he is. He is ex-Spurs. He is. Oh, that's something I forgot in my preview. You got a point. Yeah, he is.
Madueke is ex-Spurs, bro.
At youth level, isn't it? Yeah.
So can you imagine he turns up tomorrow with a goal, a game-winning goal as well? It's written in the stars, isn't it?
Oh, that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. But yeah, wait and see. I hope if there's one guy's going to score, it'll be him.
Your preview's already out. When did you put that out? Was it today or yesterday?
No, today, about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, you put it out 20 minutes ago. All right, cool. So I won't ask you. We won't talk about your predicted lineup. I'm sure you've already got that in your preview. So for now, we'll just go through mine. So if you want to know Younes' predicted lineup, there you go. You've got to check that out after this live. You get me? We're not going to give that away. But
I'm curious to see how you've gone in terms of the lineup, because I'm seeing other people change quite a lot. So I'm curious as to whether you've kept it relatively the same, or
I've kept it consistent. My lineup's very consistent.
Okay.
So
okay.
Kepa's in goal for me. Partnership Thiago Silva and Badiashile. Reece James obviously right back. Ben Chilwell, I hope he's fit enough. We haven't really had much news of him. Potter did say that the only players not available is Kante and Pulisic. So yeah, he must be available. So
Everyone's available.
So Ben Chilwell, midfield pivot of Enzo and Zakaria for me. At the peak of that pivot, obviously there's only one name. João Felix has got to go there. On that left side, I'm still gonna stick by Mudryk. I want to see more of that Ben Chilwell and Mudryk link up as well. Mudryk, he's been getting a lot of stick, but we have to remember there's also context to this. He had a long break from football in Ukraine. He's come into the Premier League. After that break, there's still a lot of things. So the more we play him, and where we are right now in the league and our season right now, it doesn't hurt to play him, to start to integrate him into the squad and get used to things. So why not? Got him. Madueke, like I said, is going to be on that right side, and up top's going to be Aubameyang for me.
Let's just say great minds think alike.
Is that your lineup as well?
It's absolutely on the money.
It's got to be.
It's
got to be that.
Spot on.
It's got to be that.
So I'm glad. No, you know what? I've seen others go to a back three, which I can understand playing against Tottenham, but I think that's too reactive, not proactive. I feel like we should have enough quality, and there should be ways to be able to get into spaces that does exploit Tottenham, even if they're playing a back three or back four. I don't think that should. That changes too much.
I imagine the thinking with that is more along the lines of
man-to-man.
Bit of a replication of what happened at the beginning of the season in terms of that, like you said, in terms of man-to-man, but that intense level of pressing that we saw. Whether it's going to be interesting to see whether we're gonna see that now. If Graham Potter, this is what I'm going to say to the peoples, you might not like this, but if Graham Potter is going to be thinking about going with a similar strategy to what we saw at the beginning of the season, trying to win possession high up the pitch and, use that aggressive press. Do not be surprised if you see Mason Mount included in this lineup. Don't be surprised.
Yeah.
Because one thing I will say about Mace is regardless of his form, that guy knows how to lead the press when he's on it. He does know how to lead and initiate the press, and people don't realize just how important that can be in games like this. So
100%.
I wouldn't pick him. Me personally, I wouldn't pick him, but if he does, I can see exactly where he's going with that selection. But
although I do want to say in relation to the press, a press always has to be a collective effort.
yeah,
If it's one guy doing it on his own or initiating it and no one follows up,
everyone follows
has
suit
gone
when he
off the
does it.
pitch.
Yeah.
So the problem, and I've said this, is the problem I've seen in this Chelsea team is that we haven't been intense or aggressive enough, and that comes collectively. You just see everyone giving space, and that's all over the pitch.
Yeah.
There has to be a collective effort to be able to close down fast, and every single player, except the back line, but every player up the top end of the pitch needs to be throwing every single bit of weight that they have fast. And if Mount is a part of that, great. If he's not a part of that, still, that shouldn't change everything. We should still be able to try and close spaces down as quick as possible for 90 minutes. No one comes off the gas. Because if we do, that's where you just give space and you give opportunity to the opposition. And we've done that way too many times. Southampton was a prime example. We were ball watching at times during that first half.
Yeah.
Players just like chilling.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But that's what made me feel at that point. When I saw that body language and behavior, that's when in the back of my mind I was asking, have these players down tools on the manager?
Yeah.
That's why I said that in the post-match. And people was like, why are you thinking? I was like, the body language said it all, because the lack of effort was harrowing. It was just ridiculous. And you could see that they weren't given 100%. So what else was I supposed to think based on that analysis? Because me, again, I ain't coached at that level of football, but I've coached groups before. And within clubs, sometimes you see some that are more responsive to coaches and some that are less responsive to coaches. It's a fact of life. It happens. And when the body language is like that, it's the beginning of the end, or it's the end already. So that's why I had that. That's why I had that thought. But this game here, right? I scapegoated. Well, I'm not going to say scapegoated. I criticized Graham Potter heavily for the Southampton loss, and I still think I'm right in doing so. Yeah. But this game here, obviously, we're going to be looking at Graham Potter to get things right tactically. But my spotlight is going to be more on the players, purely because this is a derby game. Form goes out of the window. You guys need to understand what this means to the fans. This is a game, regardless of if we're sitting 20th in the table, that we don't want to lose. Do they know what that means? So my eye is going to be strongly on these players this week. Which brings me to my question for you, Younes. Is that team that we've both agreed on strong enough to come away with 3 points against Tottenham?
100%. Like, is that team on any given day capable of winning at Spurs? Yes. And I've not got doubts in this team at all. I think we got, especially after buying, I think we've got great quality in this team now. Yeah. I really do. There's already some sort of stability defensively, at least I would say. And the rest of the pitch has been addressed, except for the striker role, you could say. But I think there's more than enough quality, which is why I'm shocked. And when you lose in the way that you do, like against Southampton, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how is it at this point? But in terms of ability, yeah, I'm pretty convinced, and this is where I've come from for weeks now, is that with someone elite enough, they get the best of these lads, we go far. I really feel like we go far.
Yeah.
And that's including this season's Champions League.
Yeah.
If we do things properly, we should be going far in that competition. But the talent's there, 100%. 100%.
If we see that pivot, for me, what's key is that pivot. That is key for me. If I see that pivot tomorrow, I'm going to be very confident that we are going to see a brilliant game from not just Enzo Fernandez, We're going to see João Felix have a good game as a result of that. And we're going to see, obviously, Aubameyang get opportunities. Now it's up to him to take them chances. And it's also now up to Mudryk to take the opportunity as well. Because Zakaria, I've seen, although it's been a small sample size, he's been hampered by injury. But I've seen enough from this guy to know that he's capable to at least get the basics correct and is enough of a physical presence to be able to handle a derby like this, because that's also going to be important. It's going to be a physical derby. If tradition stands, do you know what I mean? Yep. It's going to be a physical derby. So to have that extra bit of presence with somebody who knows that role too, that's going to be huge for the game. It's going to be huge. I mean, Tottenham, we've got to respect them as well. Although I hate to say it, but in terms of just looking at it from a pure footballing perspective, you've got to respect what they have. Their front three, obviously, that's the elephant in the room. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, who got a goal against West Ham, by the way. Decent finish as well from him, to be fair. And Kulusevski, all three of them are fit and are in contention for the game tomorrow. Do you feel confident we've got enough to keep them quiet? Or do you feel that we're going to concede?
I think we'll concede. I'll be surprised if we don't. I also think there's an opportunity there for them to concede. They've been lacking defensively. We've not really been lacking defensively, but we allow the opposition to get on the ball way too much. And when we're not clinical, we expose ourselves in certain spaces. It provides opportunity for the opposition. We do that a lot. So I don't even think there's a problem with our centre backs or anything like that. I just think it's the entire team and the whole setup. But yeah, when there's quality like Harry Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, who's been playing very well. Yeah, you can never
write that off, can you?
Bro, like, if we conceded the way we did against Southampton, then these lads, do you know what I mean? We have to see a drastic improvement to that Southampton game. And we can't be leaving spaces like we did against Southampton. You give that to Harry Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, you're gonna get punished.
But you see what gives me optimism and why we're not gonna see that against Spurs tomorrow is that our leaders are gonna be in the team tomorrow. Thiago Silva, definitely no brainer, gonna be starting. Has to start tomorrow.
Reece James.
If he doesn't start, could you imagine? Reece,
no, he has to play.
Reece James.
Everyone who got rested needs to play, basically, except for like Ziyech and
exactly. Reece James starts tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That in itself, and the fact that we've got Ben Chilwell fit and Reece James fit, that's a huge bonus, and that's a position 100%. That we've not spoken enough about, because when we're at our strongest, both of those two players are on the pitch.
Yep.
Again,
I agree.
Another opportunity there. Now, this brings us on to Spurs' defence. As good as they are up top, defensively, they look very, very suspect at times. They do. And with the talent that we've got up top, they can be got at. Now, this is important, Younes. In my opinion, we've got to score first and we've got to score more than one. And I know it sounds like I'm stating the obvious.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because you see, if Spurs get that goal, no matter how early it is,
that's what I'm scared of.
They're going to protect that lead. And then when
that's what I'm scared of.
When it's low block FC,
where's our goal going to come from, basically, at that point? And that's exactly what I'm scared of. Because at Spurs, without Antonio Conte, can I add, right, with Stellini, they look, I don't want to say they look better. They look relaxed.
They do,
They look like they're playing without that pressure from the touchline. Yeah. Which, ironically, for Tottenham, it looks like it helps them. Stellini's been doing good with them. They've been getting good results when Conte's not there, and he won't be there tomorrow. So I honestly think, being at Spurs, they'll probably smell blood right now, in the same way that we should be smelling and going, this is a chance for us to bounce back. But I'm worried that Spurs will come at us so fast, so quick, with the fans, first 10 minutes. If they score first, that's exactly what I'm worried of, is that they can just shut shop in that Antonio Conte way, and just, where's our goal going to come from at that point, is my concern. I hope that's not the case. If we go beyond 25, 30 minutes without much of a threat from Spurs, we're very much in contention at that point. But I'm worried of Spurs coming early. I've said that in my preview as well.
You see, but I have a confidence if they do that, because of purely Well, that depends on the lineup, but purely because of the personnel in that lineup. Because if they do decide to put pressure on us early, I trust our back four, and if Zachary is there, that's extra surety to that defense. So, I think that's something we might be able to weather that storm if we do that well. Because it's never good for a team to throw the kitchen sink at you and that not being enough. It does not confidence. So that would be brilliant if we could do that, and I think we're more than capable in doing so. But look, for me, I'm not gonna give score predictions again. Younes has already done his preview. I've also done a preview as well. I put that out last night, so make sure you check that out as well if you haven't already. But I'm optimistic. I'm going into this with a win. I'm not gonna say my score line, but I think we can get the win, and I'm positive that Graham Potter is gonna make the right decision in terms of personnel, and he's gonna get the tactics right, and we're gonna surprise everyone and win. What do you reckon, Younes?
I hope. I hope. And I've told people this. If there's a genuine way that people see a win coming, please let me know how. Please, because I'm genuinely not curious, but this goes beyond just tactics or the formation or who's playing. I think right now it's all mental. It's all mentality. It's all lack of confidence. It's all those sort of things. And Spurs, without that intensity and that urgency that we need, which comes from being not just being confident, but you got to be up for it. You got to be completely motivated to push yourself that extra mile. And I don't see it in the squad at the moment. And that's my problem. So the players have to try and get it out of themselves on the day. Spurs, Derby, they'll be up for it. They will be up for it. So we have to, just like them, we have to do the same. So I reckon I wouldn't be surprised of a draw. I wouldn't be surprised of a Spurs win. But we have the talent to go and get a win. So I hope we're motivated. And if we are, we should win. We should.
Yeah.
My concern is if we're actually going to be intense or urgent or show enough urgency, which we've not done in quite a while. So,
yeah, let's see. People in the chat, let's see what you lot think. Some more of your score predictions. Ni says, I can see a 0-0 stinkfest. Tim Timafola Gaming Universe says 3-0 win to Chelsea. Love the optimism. Joseph A says it's going to be 3-1 Spurs. Don't like that prediction there. Yeah, so let's see some more of your score predictions up in the chat. Tony Sikoja says Spurs win 3-0 tomorrow, and then he quotes, "That's life." Wow. Chelsea till I die says 2-1 Chelsea. H88 says we win 3-0 if we rest the head coach tomorrow. Foxy FC says 2-0 Spurs, unfortunately. So a little bit of optimism. 2-0 to Chelsea based on history.
This is the thing. Historically, we've not lost to them in 5 years.
Yeah,
I think it is, or something like. Yeah.
We haven't. I'm seeing 4-0 to bring back our confidence. 3-1. RJ in Chile for the third and fourth time this year. You should win. Hell no. 3-1 Spurs. It's not easy. That's Spurs life. He said that. But yeah, it's Spurs 2-0. I honestly don't see us getting the result. I'm new to the channel from League One. I've just read your channel title. What is wrong with football fans? Brother, it is what it is. But thank you for your contribution to the chat, Aaron. Yeah. Would you be happy with a draw? I'd be happier than a loss, but I wouldn't really be too happy with it. But all things considered, I'd understand it. We've got to respect the opposition as well, as much as we don't like to. Do you know what I mean? So there's our score predictions, obviously, for the Spurs game. I'm quite optimistic about it. I'm trying to be positive now. Do you know what I mean? So let's see. Oh, by the way, Southampton also lost 2-0 earlier.
Nice.
So yeah.
They lost 1-0. Leeds beat them 1-0. Yeah,
Leeds beat them 1-0. Okay, so HAA, it's not 2-0, it's 1-0.
On added pressure, Aston Villa beat Everton 2-0, which means Villa are now tied on points with us. So we got to...
Yeah, we've got to start winning. We've got to start winning.
We're watching our backs for Villa.
We've got
That's
to start
mad.
winning pronto. So we're gonna obviously move on to the next topic. I had it up here on Google Chrome, but you know sometimes when it just does that refresh thing on its own for no reason, this is
Yeah.
where we're at. So I'm having to search for the quotes again. But yeah, so yeah, here we go. Thank you, Fabrizio Romano. So obviously, the news around Graham Potter has been around the manager's mental health and some of the comments that he's been receiving from his own fan base due to the relegation form results that we're seeing. If we're being honest, but the first thing that obviously needs to be said here is that is completely unacceptable. Goes without saying. Saying things, anything about somebody's family over a game of football. I understand we love Chelsea Football Club a lot, but to be saying things like that and to be that unhinged, to be including kids in there, you're talking, and me, I'm a family man. I've got my own. Do you know what I mean? So I can only imagine the level of pressure that he's already under, and then to hear stuff like that is absolutely disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. It's one thing criticizing, yeah, it's your right as a Chelsea fan to criticize the football that you're seeing and questioning some of the manager's decisions. But anything outside of the football club that's not pertaining to Chelsea is none of our business, and we need to respect that. But Eunice, have you seen? Did you watch the interview?
Yeah, I've watched the interview, his press conference, his interview that followed up with Football Daily. And yeah, to be honest, when it came to what he said about the fans online, the Twitter lot, compared with the people that are closer to him and the opinions that come from them, I understood that. And I agreed. I agreed on the basis of with him in that sort of role.
Yeah,
Just like anyone in the public eye, the best thing to do is to not absorb every single opinion that comes from all angles because your head would explode. Don't do it, right? You have to ignore. There are things you just have to ignore. That's going to be something that a lot of people probably don't want to hear, but you have to ignore. However, you have to be able to know that when results are like the way that they are at the moment, criticism will come. Now, when it comes to death threats, that's as I've said in my preview. That's not just a line crossed. You've gone so far past the line at that point. You have to keep it in the context and confines of football, and you can't be attacking people personally. Like Graham Potter, as a man, as an individual, we already know, and I know you've said it. I've said it. Others have said it. We know what he brings as an individual, what he's like in terms of his character. He's not a bad person. He's a good man, right? He has morals. He conducts himself in a responsible way and fair play. He conducts himself in ways that you can criticize, and understandably, one being press conferences, post-match interviews, those sort of things. If you have a problem with the way that he says things, that's one thing. But to go after him personally, which has nothing to do with football, nothing to do with Chelsea or his job, right? Let's put it this way: when you don't comment on his job and you comment on him as a person, let alone his kids, like I bet no one can even tell me what his kid name is. Do you know what I mean? Like that's it's not disgusting isn't even the word. Like at that point you're probably deranged. At that point you've just gone. It's mad. It's mad, bruv. Like this is, but I do want to stress this. Like that needs to be dealt with. That needs to be isolated and it needs to be dealt with. And no one should conduct themselves like that. Right? Watch out, you might be muted.
I'm back. I'm back. Thank you, Ivan.
Cool.
I saw he clocked that early.
But this also shouldn't be a catalyst to prevent any constructive criticism. And people should criticize where they feel they need to within the confines of football.
Yeah.
If I've got a problem with Graham Potter, it's to do with his management. It's to do with how he does things
Exactly.
in terms of football, with his decisions, with his conduct with some of the players, what he decides to do on a match day, his lineup, his man management, what play he takes off, what play he brings on. That, cool, criticize, no problem. if you feel like he's not elite enough, like I personally don't think he is, to take Chelsea forward in the long run, absolutely fine. If you feel like he is, absolutely fine. But don't go after him personally. He's done nothing wrong, and we already know how nice of a person he is. It is what it is. So people need to differentiate from that. And I also want to make clear that people's footballing opinions on social media shouldn't be used as an incentive to go and put a death threat out in the first place. That's got absolutely nothing to do with that. Some person that's decided to send a message, right? The only reason why that person has done that is because they've chosen to do that. That's their problem and that's their fault. And they should face consequences for it when they decide to cross that line like someone clearly has. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's sick. But for everyone else, there should be open debate and there should be open discussion. And if people have an opinion, they should put it, as long as it's in the confines of football, they have a right to say what they need to say. And for Graham Potter, I really hope that he decides to focus less on opinions that are coming in from social media or from fans or whatever, because right now the only solution isn't going to be to try and control what people say. The solution is going to be results. You bring in results, people will calm down. You bring in not even results, like I said. I'm not expecting Chelsea to win every week. That's unrealistic.
No, exactly.
It's not going to happen, especially right now. But there has to be progress. There has to be a level of, this is better than what we saw last week. This is now being addressed. This is starting to get better. Cool. When you start to acknowledge that there's progress, cool. Absolutely fine. That's all you need in order for things to calm down. If people start seeing that, they will calm down. So that's the only solution. It comes from what's on the pitch.
No, you're right. You're right. And I mean, Younes, obviously I wanted to talk about something that was in relation to this comment. It says, big up Younes, don't listen to the hate, brother. People trying to bring the guy down for having an opinion. Now, obviously, I've seen this stick that you've got on Twitter. And you know what? To be fair, Younes is a very strong-minded person. Like,
this is the thing.
Yeah, the resilience from Younes is world-class stuff. Do you know what I mean? But
this is because it comes it comes part and parcel of it. If you're going to be putting up, if you're in the public eye at some sort of capacity, you need to be able to cope with what's coming your way. I've seen what's been written and whatnot. I'm cool with it. Not a problem. I've come after every manager that we've had, whether it's positive or negative, right? Since AVB, right? I came after AVB quite publicly.
Yeah.
In terms of his management.
Yeah.
I've also protected managers like Mourinho, like Conte. Sorry, I was a bit here and there from time to time. I didn't like some of the things he did. I like some of the things he did. Lampard, I came out and spoke my mind. Tuchel, I backed completely. I thought he was doing a great job.
Yeah.
I also mentioned when I saw that there were things that I didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I put myself out there and I'm honest. But people have opinions, and I can't control what everyone thinks or what everyone says. That's it. If you like it, you like it. You'll tune in and you'll engage. If you don't like it, you don't need to watch. You don't need to subscribe. You can block. You're free.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I've got no issue with what people say. I just know that it comes with it. People have opinions, whether positive or negative, about what you say. Is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. The comments is saying press resistant Younes. Absolutely. By pure definition, you know what I mean? But the tweet, because look, the tweet where you was getting a lot of heat, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't see what the outrage is. So it said, it was a quote of Pice's tweet. It says, Graham Potter on pressure he's experienced as a Chelsea manager. Family life suffers, mental health suffers, but you, the media, are not really bothered. And he quoted Noah Robinson. And then you've quote tweeted, this sums up why Chelsea is too big for him. I understand where he's coming from, but I'm sorry. On 12 M's a year at a top club like Chelsea, you deal with pressure. Past managers have dealt with it. You have to do the same. Compared to others, I think he's had it nice with the media. Here's what I'll say about it, yeah? I don't disagree with what you've said because I believe strongly in a thing called occupational hazard in every type of job. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, these things are there and they present themselves in different ways. Now, am I advocating for people to physically be violent and actually cross the line and do something to the manager and his family? Absolutely not. Have I heard you do the same thing? Absolutely not. However, when you put it into context and you take the emotions away, these are pressures that other managers who have sat at that very seat have had to face, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? And it's never going to stop. There might be another manager in the future who will have to go through the same thing, not just at Chelsea Football Club, not just in the Premier League. If you see what they probably get over in Argentina and Brazil and them places, they're mental.
Mate.
Do you know what I'm saying? And again, this isn't justifying any of that. It's not. But it's just putting into context. These are the risks that you are opening yourself up to when you step into such a public position. Quite similar to like what you were saying about the whole, you know, if you put yourself in the public eye and you put your opinions out there, be ready for criticism. You can't cry when you get things that you don't like to hear because you've made yourself open for interpretation. And very similar in this situation, once you take the hot seat, you have made yourself open to criticism. You've also made yourself potentially open to positivity and being held as one of the greatest things ever to happen to the club. So it works both ways.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I completely agree. And with that tweet in and of itself, tongue twisted, it's a case. When I decided to tweet that, it was post press conference. Now, the comments that came out of the death threats were part of the 10:30 p.m. embargo. So for those that don't know, there's always a video section in a press conference, and then straight after the video section, the cameras have to be switched off, and then the papers, the journalists of the newspapers, will ask questions, and that will come out after 10:30 p.m. that same day, ready for the publications of the newspapers the next day. So we don't hear about what's been said there up until after 10:30. It was only after 10:30 we started finding out, he spoke about receiving death threats.
Yeah.
Right? So even in terms of my tweet that I put out there yesterday, that was mainly based on what a manager at a top club, not Bright, all due respect to Brighton, I'm gonna change that word, not top, elite, at an elite club, you need to be able to deal with pressure. And if you can't, just like the managers before you and the managers after you, Graham Potter's not going to last forever. At this level, just like at Man United, where Moyes had to deal with it, Ollie had to deal with it, but other managers have come in, and there's probably managers that are stronger than others mentally or deal with it in different ways or can, whatever. But that's part and parcel of it. It comes with it. Now, isolating what he's had to face in terms of death threats that we were unaware of until after 10:30 last night, that is separate. And that needs to be dealt with. And that's unacceptable. And we've already clarified that. But that doesn't take away, and that shouldn't be a reason why there shouldn't be any pressure in that role.
Exactly.
Or why there shouldn't be pressure of that magnitude in that role.
Exactly.
We can't now be turning a blind eye and going, oh, no, it's all right. Whatever happens. It's okay. We'll just no, or we'll pretend to be fake nice about the whole situation. Or we can't critique now because don't want it to get to a place where there might be a threat or something. We can't be living like that. Not everyone's going to be lying to each other.
And that's what's happening. Certain people are conflating this situation where, if you're criticizing the manager, you're inviting this hate onto Graham Potter. When it's not the case.
No.
So does that mean that we have to sit there and just stay quiet and just not talk about what the elephant in the room? It's there. It still has to be spoken about.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And if it's a problem and it continues to be, then maybe the job's too big for you. We've got to be real here and ask these questions.
This is the thing. It's reality. We can't shy away from what's actually happening, and it goes back to the very first point since the very beginning when Potter walked into the club. There were already concerns of, is this job too big for you, or can you handle it?
Yeah.
If you can handle it, great. But if you can't, there's an issue. And right now, I don't want that to be taken away and thrown out of the window for the sake of, we've just got to safeguard every single word that's said. Regardless of performance, now we can't be saying that. At that point, you're going to start blocking what people truly think or what people really want to say about a certain situation, or critique in a certain fashion that should be constructive enough to address what's wrong. And if we start shying away from that, you're never going to get better. It's going to prevent Chelsea Football Club from getting better. If we don't say what needs to be said, we ain't going to advance. We're not going to move forward. We're going to make the same mistakes. Can't have that. So, yeah, let's hope that things do get better. And obviously, threats are threats, and they shouldn't be said at all. But if you are going to critique, just keep it within the confines of where it needs to be critiqued, and don't feel like you should stop just for the sake of, what other people think. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's entitled to it.
This is a really good comment here from Fenny, actually. Tuchel went through a divorce and people were calling for his head. These guys are humans and need to be treated like humans, but Tuchel dealt with the pressure really well, and let's hope Potter can do the same. And that's a very good comment there from Fenny. That's a great comment because it's true. It's very true. Now, Mohamed Ismail, if Potter is asking, if Potter loses against Spurs and Leeds, would the club take action before Dortmund match to keep UCL hopes alive? Now, I don't want to get stuck too much on this topic. It's something that we spoke about several times. Do you know what I mean? But I think it should be revisited after we know the result of the Borussia Dortmund match, in my opinion. But just real quick for Mohamed, what do you reckon, Younes?
I mean, I can understand where that's coming from.
Yeah.
If we lost to Spurs, we lost to Leeds, then it's inevitable based on our history and the way that we've done it before, that when we decided to take action, we went on a run and won it. We lost 3-1 to Napoli, sacked AVB, turnaround.
Yeah.
We, in the Champions League with Lamps, sacked him, got Tuchel in, turnaround. So I can understand where it's coming from. And there is a part of me, I have to be honest, there is a part of me that thinks if we were to take the same action, we'd go far. The team's there. We would go far in the Champions League. Does this go beyond just one season in the Champions League, though? I mean, I'm in it to win it. Facts. But I do think that it should be addressed if we were to lose Leeds and Spurs. At the same time, I understand and I see where you're coming from as well. There should be one final opportunity, which I feel like are the next 3 games, which is Spurs, Leeds, and Dortmund.
Yeah.
And if we were to lose all 3 or we do get knocked out, then at that point, there's not really much to be tenable in it.
Conversations would be had 100%. And we already got the news leaked out from the media that potentially there is a termination clause to avoid such a big compensation fee. So it's definitely not out of the realms of impossibility. But obviously, the last bit of this live that I wanted to discuss was some comments that Graham Potter made. Now, I addressed them in my preview, and the way I put it across might have was wrong. It sounded like I said that Graham Potter had said these things, when in fact, senior players had told him that they had experienced the worst pre-season in their careers. And he also went to mention that Thomas Tuchel was in charge at that time. Now, have you seen that in context? Because I'll be 100% honest with you. I've only seen that for what it is, as that statement. I haven't seen anything else around it, and it's also important to have context. So have you seen the context around it or no?
I have. I have. And to be fair to Graham Potter, I can understand where he's brought that up, because he was asked about all reasons as to why Chelsea are in the situation they're in at the moment.
Right, okay.
And one of those reasons were that pre-season, as some senior players had told him, was the worst they've ever had. Which, on a club level, we already knew. When we lost 4-0 to Arsenal, we knew something was wrong. Like, fundamentally wrong. Things did not look right.
Yeah.
And then you see the clip of, I think, the first day of the season at the Bridge, so the first home game that we had. And you see Todd Bowley, Eghbali, and Tuchel with his staff coming out, and he shakes hands with Eghbali. I never noticed this until yesterday. Shakes hands with Eghbali, walks straight past Todd Bowley. And Todd Bowley, he goes in for a handshake, like he goes in for the gesture, sees he's walked past, and then he retreats. And he
kind of, yeah.
You know that there was some massive things happened between them two, and we don't know what happened. To this day, we still don't know what happened. So I understand why things went south the way they did. But he was asked in the context of all reasons. And he did mention about pre-season. Now, when the journalist turned to him and said, can you answer what reasons about that pre-season was wrong? And you could see he hesitated. Like he wanted to say.
Right.
And then he was like, well, I wasn't there. But, what his word was, what was his word? Was it organizationally, I think? As in the whole club, It was just a bad preseason.
Okay.
In terms of the way that the club organized everything, it was a shocker, right?
So he wasn't just singling out Thomas Tuchel then?
No,
Okay.
no. But you could see that it was one of the reasons that he used as to why Chelsea are in the form that they're in now. Which, if we're going to talk about preseason, I do kind of disagree that preseason is why we're in the form that we're in today. If Chelsea, like 15-16, had come straight out of the bat, right? Straight out of the first game, and up until this point, we've played bad. Then I'd understand, yeah, preseason at that point probably is one of the reasons. But when Graham Potter walked in, didn't we go on a 9-game unbeaten run or something?
Yeah,
when he
did.
first showed up.
We did.
So preseason wasn't an issue for then when that was closer to the time. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, it's an issue. Like, that's where I feel like, no, something has changed. It's after Potter came in. After we had that unbeaten run, things started going south. So as much as, yes, that is a reason as to why we maybe didn't have a good preseason overall. It was a shocker. But it doesn't constitute enough, I feel, for why Chelsea are playing the way that they're playing today, especially in February. So that's where I feel like people have an issue as to why is it being brought up as a possible reason for why we're playing bad today. And that's, I feel like, where fans are going. Yeah. That's not really the case. So, no, but Graham Potter, I don't feel like we're sending shots to Thomas Tuchel or anything like that. I don't feel like he was.
Okay, all right. So just clarify.
If anything, he was probably maybe using it a little bit to protect himself.
And yeah, and to the people that was like, oh, I can't believe you said that, Guni. I said, remember, there's a key word before I said anything about that comment. I said, if he said, not he said. I said, if he said, right? I said, if he said that, yeah, as a direct shot to Tuchel, Potter needs to shut his mouth and focus on getting on results. He's in no position to be criticising any manager that's won anything when he's won nothing in his career. Just be quiet and focus on the football. That was my response. That was literally what I said. But there's a massive caveat there. I said if. I didn't say he said it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And in the court of law, there's a massive difference between slander and it not being slander by that one little word. If. Yeah?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. The one thing that I do want to say in relation to what Potter has said, since yesterday, both in terms of the press conference and the Football Daily interview, is that when you're talking when you're saying certain things, you know, one of the things which, again, I agreed with in isolation, where he's like, you know, the opinions of those closer to me are what matters, and those that are on Twitter and whatnot, not so relevant, right? I get where he's coming from in a certain context, but when you say things like that, overall, you need to be ready to make sure that you're going to win and you're going to get results, because if you don't, that's something that can come back to bite you. Overall, it can put fuel on the fire. When you're not picking up results and it seems like you're focusing more on what fans think of you rather than you addressing what actually needs to be sorted in the team and giving some sort of an outlet for people to hear that, okay, he's addressing certain things. We reckon that we might be better for the next game. Cool. And you lose. It's not a good look. Mm-hmm. And it's where I feel like people now are looking at him thinking you're focusing more on the fans and what they think rather than your own team and how to get us out of the situation when you're the one with the power to do it. So, yeah, does that come down to mentality? Does that come down to you know, how he's conducting the situation, how he's trying to resolve it? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah.
Let's see. Man Like Gabe says, maybe you should watch and check your facts before coming on your platform to give the news. Stop the ifs, buts, maybes, just speak properly. Well, Man Like Gabe, with your legal gown on and stuff, I do agree with what you're saying. However, one thing that you don't take into consideration, and I understand that you do, or maybe you do, but I'm going to assume that you don't make content. While that video was being made, that story literally came out on the timeline right there. And that's all the context we had. We had no articles. We had nothing. Hence why I had to say if at that moment. Sometimes when you put videos out on YouTube by the time it's uploaded and ready for you lot to
It
see,
becomes
after
old news.
the processing, right? All of the information comes out afterwards. And as
True,
you
yeah.
know, once it's up, it's too late to change it. So man like Gabe, I understand where you're coming from, but that's one of the things that can happen with content creation. And then it puts you in that position. So rather than
Yeah.
saying he did this, and even with the tweet saying that that's what he actually said, I still said if, to be sure, because I didn't have the correct context, but it was something that was already being spoken about.
I can testify to that as well. And no, what Gabe has said here is spot on.
It is, yeah.
In the overall context of things, when you're preparing to do a video, you check up your facts, you make sure that everything is in place, and then you do the video. But when things are happening fast and when there's tons of information coming out, like it is now about Graham Potter, because of the situation we're in, many journalists and everyone's coming out with things to say very quickly. As you said, it can very straight away be old news. If you're keeping up with every single little bit of news, you'd be getting 10 videos a day.
That's what I'm saying.
It becomes non-stop. So
yeah,
there is an element of, and it's happened to me. It's happened to me countless times where I do a video, I've posted it, 5 minutes later, I'm on the Twitter line, I'm like, oh bloody hell, I've missed that now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Nah, and Gabe, we took it, bro. I never took it that way at all. We're actually in agreement with you because it's very important that you do that. 9 times out of 10, that's the case. But sometimes when the news just comes out like that, do you know what I mean? You got to go with what you're working with. But fully, I get it, man. And people in the comments, don't go in on man like Gabe. He's cool. He's cool, peoples. But Younes. Yeah, I think we've come to that time. People, smash that like button if you are here. Leave your thoughts as well in the comments if you're watching after the video. Big up every single one of you in the chat as well. We're still on that road to 20k, so smash that subscribe button if you're new. If you want to support the channel even further, hit that join button for the memberships. All of those things do help the channel, helps us with the algorithm massively. Younes, what have you got coming up on your channel, or what have you got already uploaded?
So preview for tomorrow's game. Long awaited tomorrow's game is up, and that was uploaded just prior to going live here. So that's ready to watch. Tomorrow will be the review. So after it's all said and done, I'll post my thoughts on how it's all gone down and how I see it. And then after that, we get ready for Leeds, don't we? So once again, is that a week break again for Leeds?
Yeah, I think we're one a week. We're one.
So,
hold on. Wait. So we've got Spurs, then we've got Leeds. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So it'll be lead up to Leeds, but at the same time keeping updated on what's going on elsewhere. I'll try and incorporate my views about others in the lead up to that as well, because it's a week and can't just focus on Chelsea. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. So people, you heard it there. Make sure you go and check out Younes's preview if you haven't already. Check mine out as well if you haven't already. But yeah, man, hopefully we can get the 3 points tomorrow. I hope I'll be here. But at the same time, tomorrow, my mood will be better than it is. Chelsea, listen, the fans deserve, we are owed 3 points at this point, man.
100%.
Come on. And the best way to start would definitely be against Spurs. So up the Chelsea, let's make this happen. And Gareth Southgate out at all times. Latest, peeps.